Have you ever been at a place where God has asked you to build even before the rain comes? Remember, Noah, he was asked to build an ark way before the flood hadn't even began yet, before a drop of rain ever fell. Have you ever been there? If that is you, in this video, I want to give you three keys that will help you to effectively build even before the rain begins. I do want to make reference to the story of Noah and how he built an ark in order to save his family, and it's found in Hebrews 11. And it talks about how he went and built an ark by faith to save him and his whole generation, his whole family. And many of us are often facing this dilemma. God has given me an instruction. He's asked me to build perhaps a business, a ministry, an organization, but I don't see evidence yet. I don't even know how this could happen. I can see way past the situation that I'm actually facing. And that pressure, that tension, that kind of anxiety could often hold us back from building what God has called us to build. And I've seen how in many occasions we are looking for signs, we are looking for answers, we are looking for clarity, when in reality, faith trusts God and takes a step that is technically into the unknown. So I want to just open up by saying, well, saying or asking you this question, asking us this question as we walk together in this journey. What do we do when God gives us an instruction, but there's no visible evidence yet? What do we do when there's no movement, no confirmation, no breakthrough, but yet God has given us an instruction? He's asking something of us, perhaps in the area of our finances, our ministry, our families, in our personal areas. He's asking something of us, but there's no evidence yet of what he's getting ready to do. It's exactly what happened to Noah. And it says, by faith, Noah, being warned by God about events not yet seen, in reverence prepared an ark for the salvation of his household. That's Hebrews 11:17. And it puts us to think and leads us eventually to the first key. Because if we look at this whole picture, Noah trusted the voice of God way more than what he trusted the atmosphere around him, his environment. He trusted the voice of God. So, the first key that I would love to give you is that in order for you to build, even before the rain comes, is you must settle the voice. Noah first had to settle the voice and internally wrestle with the fact that said, was this really God? And moment in our lives where we find ourselves there, my advice is that you will remember the Lord and remember the history that you have with Him. I said this so many times in the channel because it saved me so much. And I seen how it saved so many people so much, because the proclivities are to get into this fight of, if I don't see it, I can't believe it. What is the evidence before I take the step? I need one more confirmation. And often we find ourselves at a place where we are starting to delay what God wants to do. And in my opinion, the first thing is, let's settle the voice. And I'm sure if you're watching this channel, most of you watching, you know that voice. You can tell when God has spoken to you, talked to you about a particular subject, about an area in your life. You know the voice of God. You know how to listen to the voice of God. That's why I often say that the biggest dilemma is not just hearing the voice, but obeying the voice. It's following that light feather in the face. It's that subtle whisper. It's that small internal voice. It's that, I just feel that I've got to do this. And as we're really getting to the place when we see that happening, when we perceive that, when we feel that God is on something, when we feel that He's inviting us into a journey, that we will eventually settle the voice. And when you do that, it will help you tremendously to obey God, even when things don't make any sense, and to eventually begin to build before you felt a single drop of rain. All right, so the first thing is let's settle the voice. And something that is really important, it's if we look at it from this angle, it's difficult to obey God when we're still trying to negotiate with Him. And what do you mean by that, Frank? That many times we negotiate with God. I've done it a million times that I said, Lord, but is there a way out? How about if we do this? Can this be done? Have you thought about that? And, and we start negotiating with the Lord because we know what He's asked. And it might seem so difficult, so daunting, so far fetched. We have no answers, no breakthrough, no point of reference. We really don't know how to go about it. We know He's on it, but yet we're trying to negotiate to see if we can at least dial it back a bit to the point where, okay, now I can step out. Now I can do it. It happened to Jesus. He said, Lord, if it's possible, pass this cup away from me. It's happened to all of us. Lord, if it's really you, how about this? How about that? And, you know, when we kind of like continue to negotiate with God, it's difficult to get to the place where we could obey Him fully. So it's one of those where we don't question the fact that God has spoken, but we we keep on just dwelling on this one thing that He said, looking for an alternative, looking for a different way out rather than just obeying what God has said. So the first thing is let's make sure that we settle the voice and we trust that voice more than public opinions. We trust that voice more than anything else. And He might be asking you to build something that others might not even understand. He might be asking you to build something that seems so big. It seems so enormous. And you are like, wow, Lord, it's way greater than myself. And what I will say is that often when God gives you vision, when He allows you to see life through His eyes and through His perspective, all of a sudden you are filled with a grace that enables you to build things that are way greater than yourself. They actually transcend generations. You actually can make an impact in generations to come. And in order for that to happen, the second key that I will give you, if you want to obey, if you want to follow, if you want to be able to build before the rain even comes, you've got to remove the delay. The second key is we've got to remove the delay. And the Bible says that Noah, he moved with reverence. He moved with obedience. He acted on what God had said. I enjoy watching the movie Evan Almighty because it depicts so well what this man could have gone through. Because I could only imagine the tension, the fights, the back and forth with the Lord, and over and over, God confirming, saying, Son, I called you to build something powerful. I've called you to change lives, I've called you to open a company. Perhaps you're the only one in your family to do it. I've called you to build the business. I've called you to build the ministry. And Noah is in this back and forth, but after he settles that voice, he goes on that journey and he removes the delay. And then we see how obedience begins when the delay ends. The moment you put an end to the delay and you say, no more, no more will I question, no more will I sit here. I'm settling the voice and I'm moving with it. I'm running with the vision. I will pursue what God asked me to do. I want to build what He's been putting in me to build. I will chase what I believe He's on. I'll follow the path and the invitation that I believe is coming from God. And faith keeps building even when nothing looks any different. It's made a note of it here. Faith keeps building, even when nothing looks different yet. It might seem that nothing is changing, nothing is advancing. It might seem that there is no rain coming for a long time, but eventually, deep within you, you are sure that you heard the voice. Deep within you, you are convinced that you heard the Lord, that He was on it, that it was Him moving you, leading you. It was Him whispering in your ear. It might seem that there's no rain, there's no breakthrough, there's no victory, there's no turnaround. It might seem that you lost it. It might seem that you missed God. But let me tell you, if you follow that voice, oh gosh, I've seen it so many times, and I'm so grateful that I've been able to experience God in moments when there was no rain around. But then all of a sudden, God starts to move. God starts to speak. Events occur. Things start to turn around. All of a sudden, you say, "Oh, I see a little cloud forming. I see a cloud forming, and it's the size of a man's hand. I see that now is a little cloudy. It gets a little windy, and then you could almost perceive and feel the rain in all over you. And then all of a sudden, you feel that first drop. I could only imagine how Noah felt the moment he felt that first drop. Oh boy, let me tell you, when you remove the delay, things begin to move. And there's so many people that, in my opinion, they miss what God had for their lives because they never started to build. Noah could have easily missed what God was planning to do in him, through him, if he would have refused to build. But on the other hand, he gathered his family, he gathered some wood, he started chopping wood, he got to work, he went on. I can't, this is fascinating. You sit for a moment and you think what could have gone through that man's head when he started to build that ark, the opposition that he went through, the fights that he had to endure, the people's looks and people's thoughts and words. I bet you he heard him day in and day out. It was a constant fight because often if you're going to build a business, a company, a ministry, if you're going to build a family, if you're going to build anything that will last, that will be impactful, there's going to be opposition. There's going to be difficult moments that you will go through. There will be moments that you will feel like throwing the towel. There will be moments that you will feel that you can hardly go on anymore. But you remember the word that He gave you. You remember what He spoke to you in secret. You remember what He dropped in your heart. You remember the vision. You remember how you both dreamed together, and that fuels your faith. And all of a sudden, the fear of failure, the fear of disappointing others, the fear of just not seeing what God promised, it begins to fade away. And faith fills your heart, and faith begins to flourish within you. And then you go one more log and one more piece of wood and another nail, and you keep on building and you keep on building and you keep on pursuing what God gave you, and He gives you a taste what it could really look like in the future. And you say, that's what I'm after. I know God is on it. I seen it. I saw it in a vision. I saw it in a dream. I heard it in a prayer. I heard it in a song. I read it in the scriptures. And all of a sudden you are filled with faith and you are pursuing what God called you to build. Allow me to tell you today, if perhaps you had allowed delay to hold you back, remove the delay today. Make a decision to go forward. Make a decision to build. Do not allow the enemy to discourage you to the point that you stop building. God called you to build a family, to build a ministry, to build a business. You've got what it takes to do it. God's grace is on your life. His power is in your life. You have His wisdom, His knowledge. You've been empowered to build great things for God, to build your family, build that marriage, build an inheritance for your children, build a company, build a legacy that will transcend generations. You have God's grace. If you had allowed delay, if you were unsettled, whether it was the Lord or not, settle the voice. You've heard God before. You know when He speaks. And when He speaks, you follow. And when you take one step and then the next step, He unveils Himself. He reveals Himself. And all of a sudden, you start walking on water. All of a sudden, you see the walls of Jericho falling. All of a sudden, the Jordan splits open. You walking on dry land and you saying, God, this is what you promised. This is the abundant life that you've talked to me about. This is what I was hoping for. But it begins with you being willing to settle the voice, to remove the delay, and to get to building before you even feel a drop of rain. You might be saying, Frank, this is resonating with me. I'm so happy because many of us, that's where we find ourselves. It's not that we don't have vision, it's that it doesn't make sense to start building. It's that it's tiring to build when there is no rain. It's that it's difficult to build when people are just accusing you and just yelling in your face. What are you doing? You lost your mind. You lost everything you had for this one dream. You sacrificing X, Y, and Z for this one word that God gave you. But you are sold on it. You are so sure that it was God and you're pursuing it. And you're about to experience what He's capable of doing when you choose to build even before you've experienced the rain. See, Noah built before there was any visible movement of what God had said. Man, I give it to that man. No wonder he made it to the Hall of Faith. No wonder he's in Hebrews chapter 11, because it took a lot of courage for him to build when there was no visible evidence of what God said He was going to do. So the third key that I want to give you for you to build even before you've experienced the rain is trust the outcome. Trust the outcome. Noah didn't control the rain. He didn't control the timing. He didn't control people's opinions. He couldn't. He could only manage but himself. He could only control the decisions that he was making. He could only control the fact that he will get up in the morning, remind himself of God's goodness, of God's faithfulness, of what God had done before with him, through him. All he could do is to remember who God was. Because even when you don't know what the outcome is going to look like, you know God. And if you know God, that is enough to get you going. That is enough. It is valid. Yes, I get it. Moments of discouragement, fear, I face them all the time. But you know what I do? I remind myself, I know who God is. I know who my Father is. I've seen Him work. We have history together. He's come through when I needed Him the most. And I believe He called me to build this ark. And we're going to build it because when the flood comes, we will be protected. We will be safe because we chose faith in the midst of fear. Noah simply trusted God enough to continue building. Where do you find yourself now in your journey with the Lord? Perhaps you are discouraged, you're full of fear, you're wanting to throw the towel. Could you trust God and just keep building? Could you give Him a chance to continue to lead you down the path that He's calling you to go on? Noah simply trusted God to keep on building. See, he didn't trust God to be able to control the outcome. See, if it's got to be through control, then faith is no longer needed. If you just want to control it, he chose faith in order to keep on building. And when he did that, he realized that obedience is simply trusting God when you can't control the outcome. When you know for the fact, when you finally realize that control is just an illusion, and you say, well, I can't control the outcome. All I could do is take one more step. All I could do is keep building. All I could do is trust what God has said. All Abraham could do was trust God that he was able even to bring Isaac back from the dead. All he could do was to trust God as a good father. And because he was a good father, he was going to provide. And indeed, there was a ram in the bush. What are you saying, Frank? I'm saying that when you decide to no longer want to control the outcome, then you trust God and you realize that he's able to do what he's promised. The rain eventually confirmed what obedience had started. The rain confirmed what obedience has started. Many of you have been building your business, your company, your family, and see, the rain is going to confirm your obedience. Perhaps you're sitting here and you're saying, Frank, I really don't, I'm not looking for any validation. I'm not looking for fame. I'm not looking for any of that. I just want to obey God. I want to follow what he said. And that's so beautiful, because in that you draw near to him. In that you touch the heart of God, in my opinion, because he desires to form so much inside of us. And often we allow the need to control to hold back the journey of formation that God has started in our lives. So to finish this, some of you watching this video, you could find yourself at the place where God is calling you to build, but it doesn't make sense because there's no rain. My 2 cents for you: start building by faith. Faith trusts God, settles the voice, and it removes the delay to the point that you no longer try to control how things are going to play out. But on the other hand, you know who your Father is. You know who you serve. And I really feel, as I'm sharing with you, that some of you that are going to watch this video, this is going to be, is a crucial moment for you. Is a pivotal moment for you. Is a moment of decisions for you. And I do believe God is inviting you into a journey of building, a journey of strategizing, a journey in which you will become an architect of your business, of your family. You will begin to build, and you will build with purpose. You're not going to build from pressure. You're going to build from peace. You're going to build from the place that says, I've heard God, and I'm fully convinced that the Lord is on this one thing. See, Peter was convinced that it was the Lord calling him. So he stepped out of the boat. So did Abraham, raised a knife, ready to sacrifice Isaac. So did Moses, split the sea, hit the ocean with that staff, hit the ground with it. Yes, so did Joshua when it was time to send the priests with the ark. And so many others that dared to believe God in order to build before they even felt a drop of rain. Father, I take a moment and I pray for those that are watching, those that you are inviting in a journey to build what you've asked them to build. May they follow you on that journey. May they settle the voice, remove the delay, and trust you rather than trying to control the outcome. Those who perhaps feel far away from you, may they come back to you. May they experience your love and your kindness. And Father, those that have never met you, this is a beautiful moment for you to simply surrender your life to the Lord and say, Lord, I'm done with trying to control my own life. All I could do was surrender before you and allow Jesus to enter into your heart, and your whole life could change in an instant. And when the rain comes, when the flood comes, that ark that you build is going to be such evidence of your obedience to God. So I really pray, some of you that are in ministry, this is a defining moment for you. Some of you in business that you've been carrying so much pressure, not knowing what to do next, looking for direction, looking for guidance. I believe you are at the right place, because God is indeed inviting you into a journey. You don't have to carry all this pressure alone. You don't have to go on this journey alone. I would love to be able to serve you. I would love to be able to pray for you. Those of you in ministry, I would love to be able to serve you. I believe that it's not a coincidence you come across this channel, you've come across this video. As a matter of fact, you can feel free to send it to someone who needs to hear this. You can subscribe to the channel, and I would love to be able to hear back from you. Maybe in a comment, in social media. I'm on socials all over the place. I would love to, some way, somehow, get to connect with you. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to see you next time.